Chapter 6 Takeda Izumi's Choice. The night before. The songbird perched on Toshio's finger and stretched out its glowing wings. Toshio brought the bird closer to his face, admiring it through his glasses. This kind of choice did not come along very often, Hannah. Have a look. Hannah pushed the bird cage she had been preparing aside and slipped on her mother's glasses. Takeda Izumi's coins shimmered into the shape of a bird made of the brightest blue light in the night sky. It would have put the stars to shame. I have never seen anything like it. I have. When? Once. Before you were born. I did not think I would have ever see something shine like that again. Hannah squinted at the bird. Why is it so bright? Toshio carefully put the bird in its cage. Choices radiate the light from all the possibilities they contain. Moist choices cause a few ripples at best, but this choice, had it not been abandoned, would have sent the strongest and tallest waves surging in every direction. I wonder if Takeda-sama had any idea about all that could have been. Hannah handed Toshio a blank tag. Our clients often fail to see anything more than what is right in front of them, and some are even blind to that. Toshio dipped a brush into a small paint pot and painted Takeda Izumi's name on the tag with swift, sure strokes. Perhaps it is better that way. Hannah threaded a piece of red string through a hole in the tag and tied it to the cage. The bird screeched and frantically flew around its new home. Hush, hush. Hannah reached for the latch of the cage's door. Don't. Toshio grabbed her wrist. But none of the birds have ever behaved this way. Is it hurt? Maybe I can try to calm. No. The bird furiously pecked at the cage, rattling its bars. Never take a bird from its cage. You know this. I will be careful. It won't escape. Toshio shook his head. This is what I said before a bird flew out of my hands when I was a boy. You? Toshio's mouth went dry. You lost a bird? My father caught it before it reached the door. If he hadn't... He closed his eyes, his bottom lip trembling. What would have happened, Otto-san? Hannah leaned closer, lowering her voice. It would have flown back to the moment it was made. Flown back? Hannah's eyes grew large. To the past? Toshio nodded. A bird that has tasted freedom would do anything to keep from ever being trapped again. It would reset time itself to change its fate. But that would mean that everything on the other side of the door would change. Small things, big things, forgotten stories would be written, lost lovers found. The path not taken and all its branching roads would lead the choice's owner to a whole other life. Would it be better or worse than the life they had before? Hannah asked. Toshio glared at her. Does it matter? Have I not taught you anything? If you lost a bird, what kind of life your client leads is the least of your worries. He looked away, shaking his head. Go take the cage to the vault. Me? Hannah jerked her head back. Tomorrow this pawn shop will be your responsibility. You may as well start now. Hannah nodded and carried the cage over to the bookcase that hid the entrance to the vault. She reached for the notch at its side. Hannah turned. Yes, Otto-san. The new moon is in 3 days. Toshio lowered his voice. All must be in order when the shikun come to collect the birds. Hannah's fingers froze around the edge of the bookcase. Shikun was not a name either of them said out loud, and though her father had barely whispered it, it was enough to corrupt the air with the memory of rot that filled their house whenever the shikun came by. The layers of their kimonos and their pale white nose masks did not conceal the stench of rusting metal and decaying flesh from their patchwork bodies. Hannah clamped her mouth, trying not to retch. Are you all right? Toshio asked. Hannah nodded, vomit and the realization rising up her throat. It fell to her as the pawn shop's new owner to oversee the turning of the pawn choices to the shikun. She had grown up watching their silent visits from the top of the stairs, never daring to come any closer. Once she had made the mistake of allowing her gaze to linger over the shikun's mask a second too long. It had stared back at her with a hard carved smile, wells of darkness where there might have only been eyes swallowing her whole. I will have everything ready. The records, the tags, the cages. Yourself? Toshio squeezed her shoulder. Yes, Otto-san. Hannah bowed and stepped aside as the bookcase swung open. The saddest of songs invited her in. Hannah navigated her way through the rows of cages, searching for an empty hook from which to hang Takeda Izumi's choice.